Hey, 7th graders, Mr. Eller again with another one of your flip lessons. Today we're going to be talking about the John Adams presidency. So you should have your interactive notebook out in front of you with our Adams window pane note sheet already attached in there. I believe that'll be like page 84, 85. Not exactly sure off the top of my head, but it should already be in your notebook. We should be doing this in class. You know the drill. Watch the video, answer the questions. All right, here we go. All right, so you can't really see the map, but that's okay. So, election of 1796, John Adams goes against Thomas Jefferson. We already kind of talked about this. He wins a pretty close. So he wins the election against Thomas Jefferson in 1796. We talked about this in class. A president is going to win the election by winning the electoral college vote. It was pretty close. He wins with John Adams wins with 51% of the vote. Out of 139 electoral votes, he won 71. But here's kind of the weird thing about how elections worked in 1796, and they're going to work this way until about 1802-ish when we get another amendment to the Constitution. Uh, yes, the Constitution made a plan for the president, but it never really made a plan for the vice president. So the election of 1796, Jefferson became John Adams vice president. So this is a little bit odd because you have two different political parties. One is the president, one is the vice president. It would have been kind of like in 2016 if Donald Trump would have been the president of the United States and then Hillary Clinton would have been the vice president. Kind of can see how there may be some problems there. Same problems in 2016 were happening in 1796. Jefferson got very little or pretty much no support from his vice president. And as a matter of fact, his vice president was one of his biggest opponents throughout the 4 years of his presidency. All right, so let's look at some major events of John Adams' presidency. John Adams' presidency, the biggest one is one of the biggest ones is going to be the XYZ affair. And the XYZ affair is going to deal with that concept of foreign policy. How are we dealing with other countries? All right, so throughout our first kind of presidents, Britain and France was against war with was in war with each other, and both of them expected somehow for America to be their ally. Britain expected France to be or Britain expected America to be their ally because of people like Alexander Hamilton, common cultures, and stuff like that. France thought America should be Britain's ally because, hey, we helped you out during the American Revolution, you should be helping us out. And so it created tension on both sides. And really, kind of what happened is because remember back what George Washington wanted America to do, they wanted to be trading. So America was trading with with France, which is going to upset Britain, and with Britain, which is going to upset France. So political issues are going to grow between America and France during this time period because America is still trying to trade and have relations with Britain, which kind of makes France upset. So in order to kind of get rid of these issues, Adams is going to send delegates to France to try to create some sort of treaty between the two countries, some sort of agreement that's going to lessen these issues. It goes horribly bad. France doesn't even meet with the delegates that were sent by the United States. As a matter of fact, they kind of do a bit of a slap in the face by requiring the United States delegates, before they even meet, to do two things. Number one, they want a bribe of about $250,000, and then they want America to give a loan to France of $10 million. That is a ridiculous amount of money. America is dealing with its own debt during this time period, having its own problems, and this does not go over well. Basically, the people from or the delegates are sent home from France. News of this gets back to the United States, and the Federalists in particular are furious with this. Remember, the Federalists wanted to back Britain foreign policy, and the Federalists are calling for an all-out war against France. Adams is again trying to run that precedent by which Washington was set forward. He's trying to remain neutral, and this is one of the good moments of his presidency because he is able to kind of keep these people who want war at bay. Eventually, we do sign a treaty with France that's going to kind of make things a little bit better between the two countries because Adams knew there was no way America could fight a war with France. Ooh, let me get down to the bottom. Alien and Sedition Acts. All right, this is going to be four bills that are going to be passed by Congress. Congress during this time period is pretty much run by the Federalists. They dominate both the House of Representatives and both the Senate. So these are basically bills passed by the Federalist Party. The Federalists are in power in Congress. The Federalists in power in the White House as well. The four acts kind of do two simultaneous things. Adams was kind of becoming unpopular, so the Congress is trying to kind of make that unpopularity go away, but in doing so is kind of going to hurt Adams in the long run. The first is the Alien Act, and the Alien Act is basically going to say the government could deport any foreign person in the United States. It was a two-part act. The first part talked about if the United States went to war with anybody. Basically, it made it legal for the president to kind of round up citizens from those countries that we were at war at and get rid of them. Then there was an Aliens Friendship Act, which basically said the president could do the same thing no matter what. Doesn't matter if we're at war with anybody. All right, so the Alien Act was dealing with kind of immigration. It also made it a little bit longer for people to become citizens of the United States. You had to live in the United States not for 5 years, but for 14 years. The Sedition Act is going to go right at the heart of the First Amendment and is really our first true test of the Constitution. Basically what it said is the government could jail anyone who is against the government. So, what does that mean? Anybody who's protesting, anybody who is printing articles that are against the government, anybody who is making signs who are against the government. Now, this is a time before TV, so most of this is print. And so you kind of think, how does this go against the First Amendment? Well, it goes against the First Amendment in two ways. Number one, freedom of the press. Right now, the government is saying we can tell newspapers what to print. That doesn't really work. And number one, freedom of speech. The press is supposed to be there, and these people are supposed to be there to be able to say kind of what they are against in the government. And people were, in fact, jailed and fined, mostly Democratic Republicans during this time period, due to the Sedition Act. And there was many people who were deported and sent back home due to the Alien Acts. And usually that was kind of the same thing. Somebody from a foreign country was doing something against the government, printing a newspaper, for example, that was against the Federalists, and they could round that person up, put them on trial, and basically send them home. So, let me get out of the map here. So what was Adams' legacy? Some historians have used one word to describe Adams' 4 years in the presidency, and that one word is awful. However, one big lasting impact, or one big lasting precedent, if you will, of Adams' presidency is he's the first president to create a new cabinet post. And basically, he creates the Navy and then names the Secretary of Navy. So that's something that lasts today. He also is fundamental in creating the Marine Corps, which is another part of our Army. But at the end of the day, it's not until really relatively recently that historians are looking at Adams in any possible way. Adams lost the election of 1800 due to the unpopular Alien and Sedition Acts. He lost by about about 6% of the vote. He lost 73 electoral votes to 65. And not only was he unpopular with the Democratic Republicans, but he was also very unpopular with his own party because, again, he was kind of seen as being weak against France, and that was a big no-no. So Adams kind of left office after 4 years, is just being a hugely unpopular president, and there was now we're going from a transition from a Federalist Party to a Democratic Republican Party. All right, that's our flip lesson for today. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Schoology or post something to the Schoology board. One of our classmates might be able to get a hold of that. Be sure to answer all the questions at the end puzzle, and make sure you're doing your TOD, answering those 5 questions under Schoology in your TOD folder. All right, till next time, guys. Eller out.